Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Mr. Cage, Marcus Cage, and I am the Director of Operations for Divine Works Education and Training, or Divine Works E&T. This brief video will detail and discuss the 2022 Divine Works E&T mentoring program. We'll discuss who I am, so in my background, from a professional standpoint, then we'll go into program goals and objectives and talk about some intricate details about our program. Let's do this. Again, Mr. Cage, Marcus Cage. These are some of the kiddies, the young kiddos that we worked with earlier this summer at All Nations Church in Joliet. Again, this is a little bit about myself as a professional profile. I've been training in the Chicagoland area for over a span of 13 years. After working at Job Corps for 5 years, which I volunteered there for 5 months before I became the outreach and admission coordinator and a career preparation instructor. From that point, I really wanted to be able to directly impact Joliet, even though I had served Joliet students that were what's called a non-resident student at Job Corps, which is a student that attends daily programming but does not live on campus. My goal when I transitioned into District 204 was to be a direct impact to those young people, educators, teachers, coaches, counselors, whoever, but primarily the young people. So that provoked my transition from Job Corps to Joliet Township, Central West. So throughout my journey, I was trained and volunteered with the AC Green Show, which were success sessions done at Chicago State University, the National Council for Black Women, of course, Joliet Job Corps. I went back there 2-3 years ago and did an interactive educational and training session with those young people there. And Martha's Health and Wellness, which is located in Park Forest, KB Hoops, which is volunteering in Joliet, Unity Faith Movement, Romeoville, Naperville Bridge High School, did a keynote of some breakout sessions for them, and Bolingbrook High School, which was the pilot phase of our health and relations program years ago, probably in 2016, 2017. Washington Junior High, when they did some stuff there in the classroom with a group with the Health and Relations Program. In addition to several other organizations and causes, I've been featured on television and radio. I've made guest appearances on TBN. There's a show called Join Our Town. Lean into Inspiration with my sister, Natalie Coleman, and 5070 AM 5-time radio with Michael Earhart, who's doing tremendous work in the city of Chicago. I am also certified in anger management, life coaching, and has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Divine University, where I graduated cum laude. There, my concentration was small business management and entrepreneurship. So that's a little bit about me from a community professional standpoint. How did I get into teaching, education, training, coaching, mentoring? Well, around the areas or the years of 2004, 2006, I was in the real estate industry and I operated as a salesperson. Had a lot of close relationships there, but this one lady, Diane, who I saw as a mother figure, was involved in a conversation with me in the copy room. And she said this to me. She said, Marcus, I could see you as a teacher. I told her, no, you cannot, because I do not want to deal with other people's kids. Because my experience, that's where I was at that point. But as life evolved, and as that was purpose calling, and as purpose unveiled itself in my life, I found myself in a mentoring program. 2007, I was 27 years young, with Miss Betty Washington. The name of that mentoring program was JCAN, Joliet Community Action Network, and it targeted males, African American males, ages 12 to 17. So this entire program is a child or a spinoff from what I was exposed to when I was 27 years of age. Well, the next segment is discussing our mission, goals, and objectives. Divine Works Education and Training is a professional training and coaching and training organization that provides interactive education and training for individuals. It can be youth or adults who want to advance personally, also athletically, and professionally through the discovery of their purpose. Everybody on the face of the planet has a purpose. Everybody on the face of the planet has a why. We help individuals discover or uncover the why. Once you discover your why, I won't say that you're invincible, but you become relentless because you live from the inside out instead of the outside in. Our success program is designed to help people develop self-awareness, self-esteem, self-management skills to achieve life, academic, and career success. We do this by providing a place of safety and a sense of belonging within a group or individual setting. For persons to feel safe and the principle of trust is activated, they will receive things that is outside of the experience because the individual that they're connected to has a authentic relationship with them. And even though there may be a little bit of resistance, they're still susceptible to listen. Clients are taught how to use social awareness, interpersonal skills, and emotional intelligence to establish healthy relationships and realize their full potential. These are all attributes that we demonstrate on a consistent basis because we live it. We teach what we live and we live what we teach. So when I'm in different environments, I am exemplifying these character traits. And as I exemplify them, I have different experiences and we teach from experience, not primarily from theory. Even though we have education, credentials, and certifications, it comes from the aspect of a lived out experience. Also, we believe that high school, and this is specific for teenagers, we also believe that high school or a high school diploma and a college degree is essential and a start. It's not always needed based on the pathway that that young person is going to take, but it is a start, but they are not the finish. So just because a person walks across the stage in a high school setting or a college setting, that's the end, but it's also the start of another phase of life. So to be fully functional and truly successful according to your identity and purpose, our youth specifically, we need academics because we gotta be certified in something from a aspect of trade or literacy aspect. But we can't forget about the career development because the career development is the place where the decisions come from. And many times as an educator, I observe whether it be in a school setting, regular setting, or quote unquote higher level when we speaking about celebrities, it's not the talent or the gift that sabotages the person's career. It's the life decisions that they make that can sabotage a person's reputation, credibility, and name. So character is sustained through the discovery of your identity. We have the greatest effect on each other by just being who we are. But if we haven't really discovered the essence of who we are, we can't fully function and be fully impactful to people in our immediate circle or the world. So according to Francis Baylor Parnell, educational consultant and author, character refers to the inner traits such as conscience, moral strength, and social attitudes. It is the inner you. The inner you is the force that guides your conduct and behavior towards acceptable standards of right and wrong. So this is one of the ingredients in our secret sauce of transformational training is that we train inside out instead of outside in. I will give you some more details on the inside out because you can demonstrate these on a practical level and reinforce what you would like to see from your teenager, your niece, your nephew, your son, your daughter. Will give you this ingredient that's stirred up in a recipe of our success model shortly in the segments to come. Goals for this year's mentoring program is as follows. Number one, facilitate group discussions, exercises, and activities to build self-esteem, character, and social skills. Discussions, exercises, and activities, which can be online, print, and physical. One piece that I want to share in this introduction is we integrate physical activities with principles because people learn most effectively when they connect with that experience. Once we connect them with an experience where they're having fun, we can draw out the principle in that experience because we have a difficult time releasing experience because it's connected with our memory. But if we can give a favorable experience, something that our young people can enjoy, we can teach them a different way by sitting down, having a discussion afterwards. It's the after game conversation. The pre-game, the direction of what we're getting ready to do, and it's the post-game. Post-game means that we talk about what was the experience. We did leapfrog today. Your team lost. Share with us why. Oh, the principle would be teamwork. So basically what you're saying is we lost because we didn't work together as a team. Well, let's be specific. Oh, the communication. Oh, we wasn't listening to each other. Principles like that will stay embedded in the person's internal, as we discussed in the previous segment. It'll stay embedded in their character. And when it's time for that attribute to manifest, it definitely will. Secondly, we want to encourage and assist youth with exploring career endeavors and attending institutions of higher education. We want to help them identify who they are and then create an experience where who they are connected to their interests, then allow them to be thinking about a pathway in terms of their career. Then from there, once the pathway of career is determined, we can say that, am I going to go to college or am I going to go to trade school, or what type of accreditation and certification do I need to go into this career pathway? It's what I call reverse engineering, because when we were in school, we wasn't taught about discovering who we are first. We were given the literacy, reading, writing, math, the academic portion, but we didn't really assess, or we didn't put emphasis on who am I? Because if I go into this job or career and I don't understand who I am, I'm going to be unfulfilled. Though I may get a paycheck and we need that money to produce for the family, I want to have fulfillment, which equates to peace that passes all understanding. Thirdly, we want to promote the involvement of strategic partners to enhance the likelihood of personal, academic, athletic, and professional success. We have a whole spreadsheet of resources, strategic partners, through authentic relationships that we can pair with the young people to gain access to the resources that's needed to go to the next phase on a personal, academic, athletic, and professional level. It is all dependent on the pathway that young person would like to go. Into those objectives is some subsequent information that we will detail here. Objectives: establish and sustain youth attendance and involvement. If the youth aren't there, we cannot teach them. Same principle that is operated in the high school. Attendance is essential. It's a pivotal piece that promotes the success from an academic standpoint. Same principle with us. We want them to want to be there. And as they get there and they get comfortable By providing a place of safety, their involvement will increase. We also want to establish ongoing relationship with parents and guardians. So we not only want to build the relationships with the young people, with the youth, with those ages, 13 to 18 or 12 to 18, we want to build a relationship with you because it's important that we share out what's being taught so it can be reinforced at home. Lastly, increase community awareness and participation. So from a business standpoint, brand awareness is important. We're going to increase that community awareness through social media posts, through radio, through the different outlets that strategically that we'll use. A lot of that comes from the kids talking about their experience because word of mouth is effective or efficient in terms of cost because people will share their experience and it will draw more people to the opportunity so they can realize their full potential as well. But from a business strategic standpoint, we will use social media platform to post different pictures and some interactive training. We don't do it often because sometimes it can be overkill. Sometimes professional, I can see it as being tacky, but if it's used in moderation, strategically, it can bring that community awareness to what we are doing. So I'm gonna scroll down to the next section, which is the implementation portion. So the implementation portion is to identify 10 to 15 youth, primarily ages 12 to 18 or 13 to 18, who demonstrate negative behaviors that are excessive and socially unacceptable. So there may be some individuals in the group that behaviors may be negative, and there may be some that's going to be positive. It's going to be a mixture of both. But when we say negative, we're not talking about bad. So this is a teaching moment. It's not bad. Negative behavior is behavior that can derail that teenager off the path of their purpose and destiny. So negative is less of, and positive is more of. So whatever the negative behavior is, we don't want to reinforce that. We don't want to ignore it, but we don't want to reinforce it either. But our goal is to focus on the positive behavior, the behavior that we need more of to keep that young person on track internally for them to be in position to be successful on a personal, academic, and professional level. And those transferable skills can go over into sports as well. There will be some that have socially unacceptable behaviors, which is a typo, that are excessive and socially unacceptable. Let me put this in here. Unacceptable. So it's not saying that your child, your young person, your young man or woman is just going to have socially unacceptable behavior. But some of the behavior will be socially unacceptable, hopefully not a fair amount, but some, and we'll detect those and help them with those areas. Our goal is to meet the parents to introduce Divine Works E&T, September the 6th. We want that to be the parent orientation session. Then from there, we want to issue the character trait pre-assessment to parents and guardians. It can be done on print and electronically. But anytime your child goes into an academic setting via high school, there's going to be a pre-test and there's going to be a post-test. There's going to be a pre-test just to see what they know. Then there's going to be a post-test to see what their gains were based on what they were taught and what they retained in that particular academic semester. How we work pre and post-test is we have the 10 character attributes that we use and we identify as different factors to provoke or to warrant that this program has been successful. We will ask you to fill out this pre-assessment, and I'll give you a little bit more detail as we go on to the next section, but there will be a pre-test and a post-test. So we want to track the results of that person's character development. From there, we facilitate the group session, the exercise and activities, which would be once a week in this particular expression. Once a week, Tuesdays from 5 to 8. From there, we want to begin to build and affirm the positive behavior according to our character traits. Secondly, number 6, review, reaffirm, and reestablish behavior, expectations, and norms given by our character traits. 7, issue certificates of completion and take a group photo. 8, issue character trait post-test to parents and or guardians. And then the 9th one is based on if we do a organization setting, we provide those reports to those larger organizations. The next segment will go into the character traits, and then we may have one more section, but this is getting very close to a wrap up. Thank you for staying attentive and listening and watching. Let's go on to the next section and get ready to wrap this intro video up. 3 more sections. Let's go. Say it with me. 3. I want to keep you engaged in this process. This is important because we want you to know what your young person is being taught. We want you to have an understanding too, so you can reinforce it as well with them. These are our character traits, which identify if this program is really successful. Number 1, selflessness, serving another person or community with little or no concern for self. Sacrifice, willing to give up convenience for the betterment of another or community. Thirdly, honesty, parentheses, integrity, the willingness to admit mistakes and sincerely receive feedback regarding past or present actions and behavior, sound moral character. 4, loyalty, faithfulness to individual and community goals and purpose. 5, respect, willingness to constantly or consistently display consideration, kindness, and appreciation to others. As I scroll down, communication, the willingness to listen to instruction and respond accordingly to instruction that is given from all the stakeholders in the community. In this example, this can transition over to your family household, school, sports. Communication is essential, it's pivotal. 7, 8, 9, and 10, teamwork, the ability to merge 2 or more ideas harmoniously to produce a desired outcome. Compromise, the ability to settle differences through the sacrifice of one's own convenience. Participation, the act of sharing ideas in a group in efforts to bring a project to completion. 10, punctuality, arriving consistently at the appointed or prescribed time in class, meetings, or work. These 10 character traits are transferable in every area of life. Every area. Mentally, physically, socially, emotionally, financially, personally, academically, professionally, and athletically. These 10 key character traits are universal to a person being successful from the inside out. So we teach inside out. We want to really plant these seeds of character in these young people. And if it's reproduced or if it's reinforced in the environment at home, you will see fruit eventually. You may not see it in the first month, 3 months, year, but eventually they will come to the surface. So the Divine Works E&T success measurements focus on character development. The character assessment seeks to determine the extent to which the program was able to bring about some actual change in the participants' behavior. I love the word program because it's just not a word. It means something. There has to be a reprogramming of the person's mentality for them to ascertain, comprehend why this is important, how these character traits can be applied to different areas of life. So we are doing some reprogramming. That's why it's divorce the past, interpretation, advance into the future. So some of the interpretations that we have, experiences that we have, will not get us to the next phase of life. Are the participants being, identity, and doing anything different as a result of participation in the program? This kind of assessment can be done by a self-report or reports from others such as parents, teachers, clergy, neighbors, etc. We use those 10 character traits. And that's the pre-test that we use to as a locator to see where that person is at, and then after they're done, where have they grown? So this is our scoring method. Divine Works E&T scoring method. This system is designed to evaluate, number one, develop, then reinforce behaviors. So we're evaluating the behavior, we're locating where that individual is at based on your assessment of the person as you fill out the pretest. Then from there, once we look at the data, we can really focus our energy on certain areas where there's a common thread in the class. And then they can be reinforced by us and by you as well. Positive, again, is more of the behaviors that can assist the student in accomplishing a desired outcome, character development. Negative behavior is less of the behaviors that assist the student in accomplishing a desired outcome, character development. So as you see, the desired outcome is character development. Scores are representative of behavior, skill, or effort on behalf of the student. They also are representative of competence on behalf of the instructor and the student. So we're going to have myself as a director, one of the lead instructors, and a couple more instructors that have worked with me over the years in a volunteer capacity and are in relationship with. And that's a key note. These aren't people that we just bring off the street. These are people that have a bona fide, authentic relationship with myself. It's important because my goal is to train them to be the trainers. But that comes not only through training on a professional level, but life and relationships on a personal level. Scores are also a tool for improvement. The demonstration of a new concept or skill or behavior is evaluated on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being always, 4 being often, 3 being neutral, 2 being seldom, and 1 being never. So does this person consistently or often demonstrate punctuality, or do they never? If it's a never, any demonstration of a skill that warrants a 1 or 2 is to be expressed as a specific skill. Solution-based counsel is always administered to the youth. We identify the problem, we become the solution. The learning curve for each student is taken into full consideration when a score is administered. Everybody's learning curve is different, various reasons. Evaluators should be sensitive to and fully aware of youth accommodations. So the evaluators, yourself, well, I would say not you're not an evaluator, you would be the person that will be evaluated to a degree from pretest. But when we say evaluators, I'm speaking of us evaluating the scores that you put in based on your observation and your interaction with the young person, whether it be your son, daughter, whether it be one of your players or one of your students. Evaluators should be sensitive and fully aware of youth accommodations. The score given is reflective of a learned or unlearned behavior, action, or skill, and is not to be placed upon the youth as a label. We're not labeling students or kids, we're labeling behavior. Because when you label a person, they become restricted to that box in some cases. That's what we do not want to do. We want to separate the behavior from the person, especially when it's not reflective of who they are. You know what? That's not you. You late. That's not who you are. That behavior does not have any resemblance or reflection of who you are. Let's identify the why. We will go into let's go into the last 2 sections and we'll be done. As you watch the video, you got any feedback, comments, or questions, put them in the comment section. Or you can email me directly at divorcethepast@gmail.com. We got one more section. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for being attentive. It's crucially important for us to give this information. We will connect and finish this last section now. This is what our program schedule looks like. Week 1, mentoring program, getting to know you and what's your why. Boys to Men and Girls to Women is an interactive exercise. It's built into a PowerPoint where it's more so like a game. and it gives scenarios of what boys do versus what men do, so true or false. Then it transitions into what girls do versus what women do, true or false. So FYI, my two right now for co-facilitators, one is male, one is female, and the other person that I want to be a part of is female. So just let you know, it's going to be an even presence of gender in the building. So as you can see, once we start an activity topic, we come back and we reinforce that topic that new week. The next week would be week 2 is who am I? How do I store my true identity? Which is in a workbook form. We can do it in a workbook form, but we can also do it in a PowerPoint form because it's created for both print and online. We come back the third week, we reinforce that. Now we're talking about conflict resolution, which is a very popular obstacle that we all face as humans. We go into that, and then week 4, we introduce what is a healthy relationship. And we have defined a relationship as an association or connection with a person, place, or thing. Thing being idea, culture, experience. It's just not, I'm in a relationship with a girl that I like in high school. I just met her. We're talking about the association that we have with these ideas, with these cultures that is derailing us from really fulfilling our full potential. So again, inside out. So we're addressing the inner workings of a person, which produce the outer workings of that person. Then we come back into the conflict resolution, because the healthy relationship, sometimes we don't achieve it because of the conflict that is in us. So we'll touch on the conflict that's in us first, then we'll touch on how to resolve it in a practical way. Because we can give tools, but if we don't help the mentality really adapt to the tools and how we're teaching them how to be used, then it will just be information. Healthy or unhealthy is another exercise where there's scenarios. Healthy or unhealthy. Stealing a pen out of a store. Healthy or unhealthy. So it's another game format, because young people like games, people like competition. So that's one of the major best practices or secrets, trade secrets that we implement is competition in a healthy way. Competition in a healthy way. We manage that very well, which gets everybody engaged, and we know how to stop it, how to start it, and keep it healthy. But it's used as a fuel technique, as a motivation technique to keep people involved. And then lastly, why am I angry? What does it mean when I'm upset? How do I express my emotions verbally? How do I express my emotions in a healthy way? So classes, the interactive trainings will be facilitated every Tuesday from 5 to 8. Classes, group discussion, focus groups, and activities will take place each week for a span of 6 weeks. Apologies. Span of 6 weeks. Students spend 3 hours with us each day. So our orientation session will take place September the 6th, tentative date, depending on the number of people who register, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Rehoboth International Ministries. The purpose will be to provide parents with more information about who I am and who our organization is, what we do, and what parents should expect from the mentor program. It may not, it'll be 2 hours is good. Let's go into the finale of this whole video. We will have snacks for the kids every time. We've done this program before in the 24-week cycle. That's why you see some of the typos, because we had to modify it to fit the 6-week format. My professional apologies for that. but they will have snacks. All they have to do is bring themselves. They may need, and I'll let you all know when we get together, whether we have one-on-one meetings or we have the parent orientation session. Like I said, that's based on the number of people that register and the time that they do register. We'll be keeping you abreast of if they need notebook or pen. But the conclusion is, when adolescents are taught through intentional conversation and demonstration to focus their attention more on character development, they are positioned to become more capable of controlling their own destiny, because it's inside out, not outside in. Character development increases the probability of the youth demonstrating positive behavior. When we identify positive character traits and we reinforce them consistently, that young person will demonstrate that behavior consistently in the appropriate environments. And in addition, they'll have a reference point as to why they made that decision amongst their peers that was in a negative sense, and they can be held accountable because I know that you have been taught this. Because Cage went through the whole 6 weeks, and Cage communicated with us what was being taught, and as parents, responsible parents, reinforced that. We reinforce that in you, so they can be held to a higher level of accountability as their lives proceed forward from high school to college to the workforce, or to any trade program or certification program that fits the pathway of their destiny. Thank you for being there. Thank you for listening. And most importantly, thank you for trusting us, because it's not about accolades. It's not about being recognized in the community. It's not about income. It's about lives. And I tell this to individuals, adults, and young people that I train with to be facilitators. We have people's lives in our hand, and that's the most honorable place to be when you've been entrusted with someone's life. And that's not anything to play with. We have to take it with severity and understand that we are a part of somebody's purpose, and we are part of their destiny. Thank you for being there. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being who you are.